I work at a remote motel on Nevada's Highway 50. You must follow the rules. People call it the loneliest road in America like it's a dare. Out here, the stars feel close enough to grab and the wind sounds like it learned to speak by scraping its tongue on bleached bone. My place sits between a shuttered gas station and 50 square miles of nothing. Sagebrush Rest Motel, 8 rooms, cracked ice machine, a payphone that only rings at night. If you ever stop here, you follow the rules. You don't have to believe them, you just have to follow them. Rule 1. If the neon vacancy sign flickers on by itself after sunset, throw the breaker and leave it on no until dawn. Rule 2. Room 3 stays empty between sunset and sunrise, even if you're freezing to death in the parking lot. Rule 3. If all 3 faces of the lobby clock read 3:33, step outside the glass doors and walk the parking lot for exactly 20 minutes. Don't stop, don't answer questions, and don't look back at your reflection in the office window, even if it knocks. Rule 4. Do not accept cash from a woman in a red dress. If she asks to use the restroom, give her directions to the state line. Do not watch her walk away. Rule 5. If you hear movement in the service tunnels during non-emergency hours, ignore it. It's not for you. Rule 6. Never say a guest's real name out loud. First names are fine, last names pull attention. Rule 7. The ledger by the bell is written in mirror ink. Do not read it in the office mirror. Rule 8. At dawn, sweep salt across the threshold and under the counter. If the salt is clumped or pink, call me. If I don't answer, call nobody. Rule 9. If the payphone rings and asks for mother, hang up. If it asks for you, hang up faster. I didn't write the rules. I inherited them with the job and a ring of brass keys heavy as a curse. The previous night clerk, Eli Pruitt, left them behind along with a coffee mug, a desert sun-faded Carhartt jacket, and a half-finished crossword with Phantom scrawled into every blank that would fit. 2 months into the job, I had all 9 rules on an index card in my shirt pocket and most of them in my bones. Tuesday nights are quiet out here. The coyotes start up around midnight, the wind trades gossip with the metal ice sign, and that's it. I clock in at 8, wipe down the counter that never stays clean, and count the keys like rosary beads. 1, 2, skip 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I check that the breaker for vacancy is thrown and that the bowl of salt under the register is still a bowl of salt and not a bowl of congealed pink regret. Another Tuesday night, another empty lobby. I'd been doing the evening shift for 6 months. The isolation suited me. Out here, nobody asks why you left a life that should have been fine. Out here, the silence has more patience than people ever did. I was halfway through a lukewarm coffee when the door hinges sighed and room 3's occupant drifted inside. It, always wore the same sun-bleached coat, the color of dust and old wood. The hood shadowed a face that never settled on a shape long enough for my brain to be comfortable. He came 3 nights a week, never speaking, never staying, past checkout. He set his key on the counter. Brass, old tag, the number 3 worn down to a ghost of itself, and waited. 20 minutes, I said to the wooden buttons down his chest. Another rule I made for myself, borrowed from Eli's notes. Don't meet room 3's eyes, even if you can't see them. He nodded, maybe, and dissolved into the glass reflection by the stairwell, like the lobby had another layer only he could use. I grabbed my cleaning kit and went up. Room 3 was a meat locker in July and a heat lamp in January. Tonight it was January and October. My breath fogged in front of me. The smell hit me right away. Wet earth, sage after rain, the copper tang of pennies. The bed was untouched, the bathroom immaculate. The carpet beneath the window stippled with prints made by feet that weren't shaped for any shoe I knew. I rotated the thermostat back to heat and pretended that would matter. 15 minutes later, I was back at the counter, key in its hook, hands wrapped around the coffee for warmth. The parking lot lay under moonlight like an empty stage. I updated the ledger, the mirror one, writing left-handed while I watched the letters resolve correctly in the slanted office glass, and was halfway through adding the date when headlights washed across the windows. A battered silver Civic limped into the lot, engine rattling like thin bones. The driver sat still for a beat, both hands on the wheel, like she was debating leaving and gambling on the miles instead. Then she got out, shoulders squared against the wind, copper hair twisted up under a hood. She came straight to the counter. Up close she looked road-tired but focused, green eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, a jaw set for hard conversations. "I have a reservation," she said. "Hart. Riley Hart." Reservations don't always survive the desert, I said, checking the screen that wasn't connected to any real system and the paper log that was. I'm not seeing you for tonight. It was phone in, she said. A few days ago. For the week, she glanced at the payphone like it might have been the one to take her call. The payphone glanced back in that way dead things have of making you feel seen. Can I check backups? She asked. What I've got is what I've got, I said. I can put you in 7, cash or card. She slid over a card and an ID with a Toronto address and that traveling light kind of smile people use when they're at the edge of whatever they can stand. Long way for a motel with a broken ice machine, I said. I'm looking for someone, she said, too fast to be small talk. Eli Pruitt. He worked nights. Not an official inquiry, she added, like she'd practiced the line. Just personal. He's my brother. The name landed between us like a dropped wrench. I kept my face neutral and my voice steady, the way you do when you don't want the rules to think you're starting something. Can't discuss employees, I said. Past or present. I figured, she said. I figured you'd say that. Her eyes flicked to the authorized personnel door beside the ice machine. Most guests didn't notice it. Riley had been tracking it since she walked in. But if he's around, she added, softer. Tell him Riley's here. Tell him I'm sorry. He'll know for what. I made her a key for 7, copied her first name in the mirror ledger, and domesticated the night with the usual lies. Breakfast is coffee, checkout is dawn. Please do not open your door after midnight. If the payphone rings, let it ring. She nodded like none of that surprised her. At the bottom step she paused and looked back toward the dark window of 3. For a second she watched it the way a person watches grave dirt settle. Do you get many women in red dresses? She asked, not turning around. Not if I can help it. Right, she said. Right. Her door shut soft. I cleaned a coffee ring that wasn't there, made notes in the incident log that would be read by nobody but me, and tried like hell not to think about the last time someone had said Eli out loud in this room. The clock said 12:07 when the payphone rang. Rule 9 is not a suggestion. I let it ring. The sound pushed needles into the meat of the night. Shrang, shrang, shrang. On the 7th ring, the tone changed, like the caller had moved into a bigger room. Ma, son, it said, through the static. It didn't know my name. It was trying one on to see if it fit. I put a hand on the bowls of salt, one under the counter, one I keep behind the coffee maker, and didn't blink until the ringing gave up and the dial tone flat-lined. When I looked back at the clock, all 3 faces read 3:33. Sometimes the desert cheats. I shoved my arms into Eli's old jacket and stepped outside, the glass door whispering closed behind me. 20 minutes. Walk the lot. Don't answer questions. Don't look at yourself in the reflection. The air had teeth. Far out over the basin a train moaned in a direction no tracks ran. I paced the rectangle of oil stains and faded lines, counting to keep the minutes obedient. I kept my gaze on the asphalt. When something tapped the office glass behind me, polite as a neighbor, I didn't turn around. On lap 5, a dark blue sedan rolled in and parked, nose out. The driver didn't get out. You learn the shape of bad decisions out here. This one wore a navy windbreaker and patience. I kept walking. When my phone timer hissed, I went back inside. The lobby didn't look different. It never does when you come back from the 20 minutes that belong to the clock, but the air had that after feeling, like a room where someone has been praying or pleading, and Mrs. Ansell, the owner I met in person maybe twice a month, stood by the key hooks like she'd grown out of the wall. She's in her late 50s with a hairdo that could cut glass and eyes that look at you the way a notary looks at a signature that just won't be legal. She's from nowhere. She belongs to the building. Evening, Mason, she said. She always says my name like she's reading it off something I can't see. Quiet? As a skull, I said. Her gaze moved to the window where the blue sedan idled under the buzzing pole light. Visitor? Haven't approached. Might be waiting for daylight. She'll wait, Mrs. Ansell said, with the certainty of a weather report already true. Riley settled? Room 7, I said, and she asked for Eli. For a heartbeat, those glacier eyes blinked. We don't discuss employees, she said. I didn't. Good, she said. Keep to the rules, Mr. Mason. They've kept more people breathing than you know. She turned for the office door, then added, and if anyone in red asks for mercy, you send her to me. The office door shut. The blue sedan idled. The clock looked innocent, which offended me. At 1:11, Riley's room light came on. Her silhouette passed the curtains, sat at the desk, stood, sat again. She wasn't a sleeper, she was a sitter. People who sit all night aren't always the kind who last long on Highway 50. By 2:03, the movement started in the tunnels. You can tell the difference between pipes clanking and footsteps. Pipes have a rhythm that comes from a furnace trying to remember its job. Footsteps have intention. These were closer than usual, deliberate as a lesson. Ignore it, says Rule 5. I ignored it until I couldn't. That's the thing about rules. They're better than you are until they aren't. The authorized personnel door lock is older than the freeway. The key turns like it's arguing. The stairs down are narrow concrete that tastes like damp metal on your tongue. I flicked on emergency lights and the tunnels came up in smeared amber, revealing their bad habits, conduits and ducts that belonged to a building larger than ours, hatch doors that implied rooms we didn't rent, and old stone walls where concrete should have been. People who think the desert doesn't have basements haven't met the desert's secrets. The footsteps stopped when I reached the first junction. I stopped too. You don't run toward what wants you to run toward it. You're late, said a voice I knew. I turned and saw Eli lean out from a doorway that hadn't existed 10 seconds earlier. He looked like himself from far away. Same frame, same jacket. Damn him. Same ink smudge on his fingers where the pen bit when he wrote in a hurry. Up close, it wasn't right. His skin had the wrong reflectivity, like it remembered light differently. And his eyes caught the amber and threw it back like an animal's. What did I miss? He asked, as if we'd been mid-shift change a day ago and not 2 months in a small lifetime. Rules, I said, because it's what I had. You left. You didn't put in for PTO. He laughed, a human sound that got echoed in the ducts in ways laughter isn't supposed to. Hi, Mason. Hi, Eli, I said, and my throat hurt. Your sister's upstairs. Silence turned the tunnel into a clock. She came anyway, he said. I told her not to. You told no one anything, I said. You left a mug and a jacket and me. You left the rules and ran. Is that what I did? He said gently and stepped back into his door. Come on, we can't talk here. She's listening. Who? You know, he said. You've known since your first 20 minutes. He wasn't wrong. I followed. The room beyond the door was a living space built by a person who thought they'd stay just a week and stayed a season instead. Bed, desk, coil burner, a stack of notebooks. Everything smelled like rain trying to remember itself, and iron. He moved in that under-desert light like someone born to caves. I didn't leave, he said finally, watching my face to see how quickly I'd forgive him. I changed jobs. You died, I said. Or something truer than died. Did you ever wonder why room 3 is cold? He asked, ignoring everything except the back of the truth. Why the prints at the window look like someone carrying home in his feet? Why the ledger is backward and the clock has 3 faces? Why we never say last names in the lobby? Because the rules say so, I said. Because this place is a throat, he said softly. Because out there, he gestured past stone toward sage and stars. You can drive a long time and never notice what you're passing. But under here and under the salt, nothing stays lost. Things that used to own this land and things that were invented to count it. The auditor wants names. That's all she needs to make a person a file. Once she has you indexed, the desert's the only thing that will remember you, and the desert doesn't make phone calls. The woman in red's the auditor? I asked, thinking of Rule 4 and the way red looks like blood even when it's silk. No. Eli's smile was tired. She's the warning. The auditor wears whoever you'll trust long enough to give your last name and your time of day. Red is the alarm you ignore because you're polite. The tunnels, I said. Rule 5. Movement means transit, he said. Some of our guests are displaced, not monsters, not harmless either. The rules aren't about keeping the bad things out. They're about shepherding whoever needs shepherding across a highway the government pretends isn't here. He watched me for the flinch at government. Yeah, he said. Them too. The desert's big enough to hide an alphabet. But this isn't a conspiracy story, Mason. It's a hospitality one. We keep the lights dim. We turn the neon to NO. We don't say names. We clean. We don't look at reflections when they knock. Why did you go underground? I asked. Because my last 20 minutes didn't end, he said, and for a second the something else in his voice sang in sympathy with some duck 3 hallways away. Because I walked the lot and came back and the lobby glass didn't have me in it. Because she, the auditor, counted me and lost me, and now I live where the math runs out. He handed me one of the notebooks. The last entry, written at 3:17 a.m. 2 months ago, read, R3 footprints contain quartz flecks not from here. Payphone voice mispronounced Mason, told the tunnel to open. It listened. Rules aren't protection from them. Rules are traffic signals for us. What does she want? I asked. What everybody who counts wants, he said. Ownership. If she can number you, she can keep you. Names are the cheapest numbers we got. The tunnel hummed like a faraway choir of refrigerators. Eli tilted his head. That's for you, he said. What is? She is, he said. Upstairs. I left him there because the job is stairs and doors and coming back up when the under is saying stay. The authorized door into the lobby was unlocked. Bad security, sacred courtesy. The air on my face felt like waking from a warm bath into winter. Riley stood at the counter. The red dress stood by the window. Riley looked like she hadn't slept in a week and didn't plan to start. The woman in red looked like the picture you keep of yourself in your head when you're trying to be strong. Mid-30s, professional bearing. A mouth that was used to saying no and now. She didn't move like a seduction. She moved like a warning light on a dashboard 2 seconds before the engine seizes. Evening, the red dress said without looking away from her reflection in the glass. I need a room. I can pay in cash. We don't take cash at night, I said. Policy. Funny thing, she said. Policy works until policy doesn't. She turned and smiled, and for a heartbeat the air around her bent, like heat haze on a blacktop. Do you recognize me? I recognize red, I said. Then you recognize what you should do, she said, and the edge in her voice carried desert distance. Refuse service. Riley's fingers tightened on the counter. Is she? She's not who you're here for, I said. I'm here for Eli, Riley said, and I don't intend to be told no. Name's Ms. Hart, the woman in red said, polite as a wasp. They are doors. Open the wrong one and you don't get to leave. Riley's mouth pressed thin. Are you, what, his lawyer? His angel? His jailer? I'm his fire alarm, the red dress said. And yours. You're about to do the thing that gets you counted. Don't. The payphone rang. Don't answer that, I said. Riley flinched, like the tone had grabbed a tooth. The red dress didn't look at it. She watched me. You've been doing well, she said. Salt where it counts. Neon turned to no. Keys in their hooks. But you went into the tunnels. Movement during non-emergency hours, I said. I ignored it until I couldn't. You think that makes you a hero, she said. Not a question. I think it makes me a clerk who wants to sleep after dawn. Her smile was almost fond. Then do the job. She nodded at the clock. 3:33, all 3 faces. I just did my 20 minutes, I said. Sometimes the desert cheats, she said, and for the second time tonight I hated the clock with a personal intimacy. I should have gone outside. I didn't. What I did was pick up the brass key for room 7 and ringing the bell once, just to hear something ordinary crack the scene. Riley, I said, please go back to your room. Don't open to anybody, even me. You don't get to tell me. Please, I said, and used her first name like a shield the way the rules taught me. First names are light, last names are handles. Don't give anybody a handle tonight. The payphone stopped ringing. The silence it left behind had shape. Riley looked at the woman in red, then at me, then at the authorized door. She made a decision. If you lie to me about him, she said to me, I will bring the state of Nevada down on this place and all your salt with it. Then I'll try not to lie, I said. She took the key and went. Her door closed. The red dress watched the hall until the latch clicked. Now, she said softly, let's walk. Policy says go outside for 20 minutes when the clock adds you up, she said. Policy doesn't say what to do when the accountant walks in. We stepped out together. The night had slid colder by a degree that mattered. Out beyond the sodium light, the desert lay like a dark sea waiting for a wind to skin it. The blue sedan idled, patient. The woman in red didn't shiver. Red doesn't shiver. It declares. What are you? I asked, because you can only go so long without making your world bigger. A stop sign, she said. A fire door. A thorn in the mouth of a machine that eats names. Sometimes I am a woman to make the warning easier to hear. Do you hear me? I do, I said. But I broke a rule tonight. You went below, she said. Yes. You broke a rule because your heart is noisy. The rules forgive the right kind of noise. We paced. 5 minutes. 6. The blue sedan door opened and a man stepped out. Navy windbreaker, haircut like a decision, face like paperwork. He walked toward the glass doors with that "I have a badge, even if I don't need to show it" efficiency that finds ways to be both lawful and wrong. "Evening," he said when he reached us. "No badge, no name. I'm looking for Ms. Hart." "No last names," the red dress said, as if to the air. "Not here." "I'm in contact with her family," the man said smoothly. He looked at me the way you look at a vending machine that owes you a candy bar. "I need to confirm a few details with Ms. Riley Hart. Routine." The way he said her name made it a number. It clicked into a place I didn't like. "She's sleeping," I said. "Checkout's dawn." The man smiled in a way that suggested he could move Dawn if required. "Then let me wait in the lobby." "No," the red dress said. He finally looked at her, and for a breath his eyes saw red the way a matador does, and then, just for a flicker, like a person at a railroad crossing who realizes the engine isn't going to stop. "Ma'am," he said, with a courtesy that had condescension stamped on the back like a watermark, "this is security business." "This is sanctuary business," she said. "Your math doesn't apply here." He smiled and took out a small handheld device that hummed like a mosquito under the skin. He pointed it at the glass door. The vacancy sign, breaker or no breaker, sputtered and tried to come alive. I palmed the salt from my pocket and did what Eli taught me the first week he was still human. A thin, clean line on the threshold, left to right. The neon gasped and died like a fish without water. The man's smile twitched. "We can do this the easy way," he said, which is what people say before they add you up. "Or we can wait until someone says a full legal name and then..." "And then nothing," the red dress said, "because he's not going to let you have one." "Who are you?" he asked her. "You're not in my files." "That's the point," she said. He stepped forward. The salt didn't move. The windbreaker did. We walked the lot. 17 minutes. 18. The blue sedan idled, the payphone stayed quiet, and the desert counted its own, which has never been us. At 19, the man by the door tilted his head, listening to something on a frequency I couldn't hear. He smiled. "There you are," he said, "not to us." He walked away, got into the sedan, and drove off without looking at either of us. The tail lights were the only red that should be out here after midnight. We stepped back inside at 20 minutes. The lobby felt like the inside of a throat again, this time one that had just swallowed wrong and decided not to die of it. "Thank you," I said to the woman in red. I meant it and I didn't. I hated her for having to exist. I admired her for existing anyway. "You're learning," she said. "Now learn faster. She's," a flick of her chin to the tunnels, "waiting for you. And don't make me ask again about cash." "No cash," I said. "No cash," she echoed, but her smile had humor in it now, faint as a dawn outline on distant hills. "You'll do." She left. She didn't walk to the highway. She simply reached the edge of the parking lot and wasn't in the way a trick of light isn't when you stop pretending it is. I locked the door. I stood there with my hand on the latch until the clock scrolled to 4:08 and the desert remembered who it was, and then I went below. Eli was waiting where the tunnels curved toward the stone guts of something older than roads. Riley stood beside him, eyes red in a way no dress could mimic, hands wrapped around a notebook like a life preserver. "You brought her," I said to him. "She brought herself," he said. "Good habit of hers." "You said you didn't want her counted." "And I still don't," he said. "But she won't stop. She's my sister." Riley swallowed and found a voice that had been sand-blasted clean. "I don't care what you are now," she said to him. "You're my brother and I love you, and I want, someday, to tell Mom you're okay without getting her counted too." He closed his eyes. When he opened them, the animal reflection softened around the edges. "Then listen to me," he said. "Both of you. There is a door under the salt. It opens to where the numbers run out. I can go back above sometimes to fetch and carry and fix. I can't stay. If the auditor, files me, I become a paper cutout of a person with no weight and all the lungs in the world. I'd rather be a rumor in a tunnel than a file in a cabinet." "We can fight her," Riley said. "We can go to the press, to..." "Names will kill you faster than bullets," he said. "Press prints names. Government eats names for breakfast. I want you alive more than I want you to understand me." "I want both," she snapped. He looked at me over her shoulder. "That's your job, clerk. Give her both." "How?" I asked. "The same way you balance the drawer. he said. By writing it right. He handed me his pen. The notebook he passed me wasn't his incident log. It was a book of new rules, spaces between the lines like they were waiting for something only a night clerk who could hold 20 minutes in his teeth would know how to write. You want me to codify what you already do, he said. The old rules got us through the years when everything was hush, hush, hide, lock, ignore. That's not the world anymore. We need rules you can pin to a wall without summoning the wrong things. Riley's mouth opened in a small O. You're staying? She asked me, like she'd just realized that this wasn't custody or coercion or cult, but a job someone had to do. I am, I said, surprising exactly nobody in the room including me, unless someone better shows up, and I'll train them. Eli laughed that wrong right laugh. You always were a manager disguised as a drifter. You always were a drifter disguised as a manager, I said. It felt like a goodbye and a hello in the same mouthful. He showed Riley the path she could take when the tunnel needed to open for family without the ledger bleeding for it. She learned fast. People in grief do. By the time dawn rubbed its eyes against the desert, we were back upstairs. I swept salt under the counter. It clumped, but only a little, and not pink. The sun came up on Highway 50 like it had done 1,000 times without caring who we were, which is one of the ways the sun keeps us from getting too big for our boots. I poured coffee. Riley joined me, hair in a rough knot, face washed clean, gaze heavy and human. She slid her key across the wood. I'm not checking out, she said. I'm moving rooms. Which one? She looked at the hooks. Her eyes paused on 3, then moved on. 4, she said. Even numbers, safe ones. For a week? For as long as it takes me to do this right, she said, tapping the notebook I'd started to fill. If I'm going to keep Eli safe without getting anyone else counted, I need a network that doesn't use names until people give them freely. Digital? I asked. Encrypted, she said. Mirrors that can't be read by office glass, a ledger that doesn't reflect unless you belong to it. You're hired, I said. By whom? By me, said Mrs. Ansell from the office doorway. She'd been listening long enough to know the salary she was about to regret. She held out a hand. Riley shook it. You'll find the desert slow and quick in the ways that matter. Don't let it number you. I won't, Riley said, and if it tries, I'll rename it first. The neon stayed no even after sunrise because sometimes a sign tells the truth by accident. I rewrote the sheet of rules in a bigger hand and taped it above the bell. I kept the old ones folded in my pocket with Eli's ink and tunnels on them. The new list looked like this. Rule 1. No last names unless freely given. Rule 2. Room 3 remains sanctuary between sunset and sunrise. Rule 3. When the clock adds you up, walk the lot for 20 minutes. You may walk with a warning light if she asks. Rule 4. Cash, red, and reflected faces get turned away at night. Rule 5. Movement below means transit. If it's not an emergency, it's not for you. Rule 6. Write in mirror ink. Read in the right room. Rule 7. Salt at dawn, salt at dusk, salt if your heart is noisy. Rule 8. If the payphone asks for mother, it's counting. Hang up. Rule 9. If you must break a rule, break it for mercy and write down why. The house forgives notes more than secrets. I set the bell beside the ledger and watched the desert make a day out of light. I didn't feel safer. I felt correct. There's a difference. At 11, a man in a suit pulled up and tried to sell me a service where we'd show up first on Google when people searched cheap motels near me. I told him we make our money on people who aren't looking for us. He left a card with a last name. I fed it to the trash can without reading it aloud. At 2, a woman came in wearing red on purpose, the silk kind that shines like a knife. She asked to trade cash for a room and I said, the coffee shop in Austin makes a mean cinnamon roll. And pointed. She smiled like a person who knows the difference between a place that keeps you and a place that keeps you safe. At 5, room 3 returned its key on the counter, the brass cold as river water on my palm. I put it on the hook and didn't look up, even though I could feel a presence like old trees behind me. See you next time, I said to the buttons on his coat. The lobby clock ticked. Outside, dust devils practiced being tornadoes and gave up laughing. Highway 50 unrolled toward both horizons like ribbon on a coffin the desert refused to bury. If you ever find yourself out here and you can't let your eyes do more miles, if the road keeps getting longer instead of shorter, and the stars feel like they've decided to count you one by one, my neon will tell you no at night. If you're meant to be here, you'll see the other sign. It's taped above the bell. Follow the rules. You don't have to believe them. You just have to follow them. If this story gave you chills, please subscribe to the channel. There are more rules and more stories waiting.